Hi guys, it's Catherine and today I'm going to be doing my favorite books of 2017. Oh my god. So yeah, it's been a good year. You can watch my year in review. I don't even know what you're supposed to call that, but I'll have a link there if you'd like to check it out. I'll also have my worst books of 2017 linked, but we're gonna talk about the best ones because my heart hurts, okay? These are in no particular order except for the last one, which is my favorite one. So yeah, let's just get started. I'm pretty sure if you've been around, you know what my favorite book of the year was, so yeah. So the first one that I have to talk about is the Lunar Chronicles. Like all of the books, I feel like that series has made it to one of my favorite series of all times. I really loved it. I listened to it on audiobook in the beginning of the year. It was really good. I really liked it. I really loved the characters. And I absolutely loved the way Marissa Meyer did the retellings. I'm sure you've probably heard about the Lunar Chronicles, but it's basically 4 books. Each book follows a different main character, and they're all based off of a retelling. Like the first one is Cinder, which is Cinderella, obviously. Then Scarlet, which is Red Riding Hood. Cress, which is Rapunzel. I nearly said Tangled there. And Winter, which is Snow White. I thought they were all really good, and I can never get over how she incorporated the retellings into the story. Just freaking genius, bro, because it's I don't even know. Anyways, yeah, I really love that series. One of my all-time favorites. Very good. The next one is These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This is the first book in a trilogy. I really only loved the first book. I thought the second book was really good, and I'm halfway or more through the third book, but the first book was just the best, okay? It's a sci-fi book following these 2 characters who have survived a crash. They're on a planet alone, essentially, together. So yeah, and they're trying to figure out what happened and find anybody else that might have survived, and then things and aliens, and oh my god, it's so freaking good. I love it, okay? It was good. I cried a lot. I had a massive headache. It was rough, but at the same time, it was so freaking good, okay? Each of the books in this series follow different main characters, and I definitely love the first book's main characters the most. And so that's why I think this first book is my favorite, so yeah. And then we have The Host by Marissa Meyer. By Stephenie Meyer. This book I listened to an audiobook, and I really, really enjoyed it. I don't even know, man. I was not expecting too much because Stephenie Meyer, but I heard a lot of good things about The Host, that it's much different than Twilight. And I've watched the movie several times and I really enjoyed the story in that, but the book was so good. It was pretty long, but it didn't feel like it was dragging. I was super invested in the world and seeing what was going on and all of that, and I really, really enjoyed that, so yeah. I loved the main characters, Wanda and Melanie, them together in the same mind. It was such a cool story, and I really, really enjoyed that about it. And also the surviving in the tunnels and things like that. Love it. I don't know how to summarize The Host, so we're just gonna, you probably know about it, right? The next one is The Help, which I listened to on audiobook as well, by Kathryn Stockett. But I love the movie to this, and I really wanted to read the original piece, and I really, really enjoyed it. It has a lot more than the movie does, obviously, but I had a good time listening to it. It was very interesting. I really liked it. One of my favorite books of the year. Yeah, I guess so. And this was one of the only historical fiction type books that I read this year, so I thought I would add it into this list. The next one I felt was such a good solid fantasy that I really, really enjoyed, but it is Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. I loved this book. It was such a solid fantasy. I really loved it. And this book follow a main character who is given a chance to come off of death row and become the ruler's taster. It's not a king. And everybody always says the king, and I'm he's not a king. He's I don't know what you call it, but the guy in power, his food taster, which is a pretty dangerous job, and then people are out together, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very good. Very solid fantasy if you're ever looking for one. I didn't particularly like the end at all, but I still really liked the majority of the book, and I don't think I'm going to continue on with the series. I don't think so. I don't know, but I really love the first book, so. And the next one on my list is Blue Lily Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the 3rd book in the Raven cycle. I listened to these audiobooks. Geez, why are these all audiobooks? But I listened to this audiobook back in the beginning of summer, and the first 2 books I couldn't fully get into, I couldn't fully love because I'm very heavily fantasy based. I love being in fantasy worlds, and this takes place in the real world, but there's like the magical element to it though. So yeah, in the series we follow a girl named Blue who's grown up in a house full of psychics. How do you even summarize this book? I don't know. And then at some point she like teams up with a bunch of guys from the like all boys prep school where she lives, and they go on this journey. It's a very long journey. There's so much to it. Very good. To find a dead king. But anyways, Blue Lily Lily Blue, which is the third book, was my favorite because it finally got into like more magical bits, and Gwendoline came and she was one of my favorite characters from this series. Like, I don't know why I loved her so much. Like, she was just crazy and I loved her. She was so good. Like, I honestly don't know why I love her so much, okay? I just do. The next one is The Hush by Sky Milky Wagner. I was sent this book by the publisher and I really enjoyed it. It was very good. In this book we follow a guy whose father has disappeared and he doesn't know why, so he's just been traveling from town to town trying to find out any information, and to get by he plays his fiddle for a living. And in one town he accidentally taps into this thing called the song, which is like the backbone of the world, and it's illegal to tap into it because he hasn't been trained to be a song shaper, and so he is arrested and to be executed. But then a member of this infamous gang, it's kind of like a Robin Hood type gang. I always mean to mention that, but I always forget. But it's like a Robin Hood type gang. I'm not a big fan of the Robin Hood story, but this was done well. But anyways, they rescue him because they need his talents to pull off this heist kind of thing. I hate the word heist. But yeah, they save him and then they go on this long journey, and I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was a very unique story. I'd never really read anything like it, but at the same time it gave me like such like throwback vibes to when I first started reading and like Witch and Wizard. But it was like there's a lot to it, and I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend reading it. And the next one that I have is one that I actually have physically, and it is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This was one of my most anticipated reads of this year, and I got an arc of it. I was so freaking excited, and I really loved this book. I know a lot of people didn't really like it or were kind of on the fence about it, but I thought it was very interesting. It kept me entranced. I don't know the word. I really liked the main character. She wasn't stupid. The romance in it, I feel like a lot of people thought was kind of weird, but I thought it was pretty good. Oh, I didn't even say what it's about. Basically, we follow this main character named Isabel, and she lives in a town on the outskirts of the fairy world where craft is like a big thing, and so she's a master of craft of painting because the fairies can't make their own things or else they die. And so one day she is hired to do a portrait of the Autumn Prince named Rook, and so she does his portrait and she puts human emotion in his eyes, which is very tragic because it makes him seem human, and that's no bueno, especially from the viewpoint of other fairies in his court. And so he takes her to go and stand trial at his court, but on the way there, lots of things happen. I thought it was great. I really liked it. I love the fairy world, seeing like legitness fairies, you know? I haven't really read any fairy books before, like just fairies being the main focus of it. So I really enjoyed this, and it was like legitness fairies. These were like the mischievous fairies that couldn't lie and were always trying to trick the humans and all of that. And yeah, I loved it. It was very good. I thought so. And so before we get to my last favorite, I just wanted to give some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list, but I still really like. We have The Bone Witch by Rin Chupeco, The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst, and The Queen of the Tierling by Erica Johansson. Like, those three books were also books that I really loved, but they didn't quite make it to the list. But yes, here we are to my favorite book of this year. It is also my favorite series, but I feel like the first book is just my favorite. This is one of my new favorite books of all time, and the series is definitely one of my favorite series of all time. Stolen Songbird by Danielle L. Jensen. I was totally covering the cover there. This book, man, this trilogy, the Malediction trilogy, ripped me apart. I cried in every single book. I had so much anxiety in this first book that I nearly ripped the book in half. So, you know, this trilogy is just so full of political intrigue and twists and turns and freaking heartbreak and crying, and I love it so freaking much. So we have the first book, which is Stolen Songbird, then we have Hidden Huntress, then Warrior Witch, and then a prequel called The Broken Ones, which you should read after you finish the trilogy. If you've been around for this whole year, you know I've not stopped talking about this freaking book. I write all of my books on these sheets of paper. I've had it since like 2013. Wow. 5 years now? Is that math? Yeah. But usually I just write the book and then the date. And for Stolen Songbird, in like caps bold, I am so wrecked, okay, bro? I read this book in 2 days. It hurt my soul so much. The last book, the ending of the last book hurt my soul the most. So, you know, it's all good. In this book, we follow a girl named Cecile who is kidnapped and taken under this mountain where these trolls have secretly been living for the past like 300 years. Trolls, meaning they're not legit trolls. They're basically fae, but they're just called trolls. That's the name that they were given when they came to Earth. But they have been cursed, trapped there by a witch called Anushka, and there is now a prophecy that says that this girl, Cecile, and the prince of the place called Trollus, united will break the curse, and so they marry her off to him, and things don't go as planned, and so she gets wrapped up in the intrigue and the games and all of that, and it's so, I love it, okay? I can't. When the prequel, The Broken Ones, came out, I did a bunch of videos pertaining to this book and a review for The Broken Ones. So if you'd like to find out 6 reasons why you should read this book, I will have it linked down over there. And I also have a playlist that is just like, if you read this book and you listen to the lyrics, you're like, oh my God, shook it. The last book wrecked me. I was thinking about it the other day, which I try not to think about it because the end of that book just,
hello, darkness,
just hurts me so much. You don't even know. It hurts. It hurts. Let's not think about it. It just does, okay? It hurts. I just think it's done so well. I love Danielle L. Jensen's writing. She is definitely one of my favorite authors. This is definitely one of my favorite books of all time. I love it. So good. I can't. And I cannot reread this book for anything because I can't do it. I don't have the strength to reread this, okay? So that is it for my favorite books of 2017. What a year it's been. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely tell me down below which book that you read in 2017 was your favorite. If you can even choose one, but I mean I can choose one, it's this one. Remember to check out all my social media, which are always linked down below. Check out my Goodreads, keep up with me for the year, you know. Also, don't forget to check out my other end of the year videos if you haven't seen them. Also, I just like to share something really quick. On New Year's Eve night, we were playing Cards Against Humanity, and I was reading one of the black cards, and I just couldn't read it for the life of me. And so somebody was like, Catherine's reads, more like Catherine's can't read. And that has just been bothering me ever since. So now you all know I've been exposed. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!
I was yours on Sunday, while we watched the children play. We fell deep in love again, like we always do.